The words did not look carved. They looked torn into the surface like something had pressed its fingers into the wood and dragged them slowly, leaving deep scars that spelled out, "You are next." I stared at it for a long time, my breathing uneven, my mind refusing to accept what I was seeing. When I finally reached out and touched the marks, they felt rough and strangely warm. I pulled my hand back immediately and turned around, expecting to see someone behind me. But the nurse station was empty, and the hallway was silent again. That same unnatural silence, I grabbed my things and left the hospital without looking back. But leaving the building did not end anything, because that night, at exactly 3:17 a.m., my phone rang. I was lying awake staring at the ceiling when the screen lit up with an unknown number. I let it ring for a moment before answering, and when I said hello, there was only silence, followed by a faint static sound, and then a voice, clear and close, said, "You left." My entire body went cold, and I hung up instantly. But the phone rang again, and this time it would not stop. The sound became louder, more aggressive until it suddenly ended, and when I checked my phone, there was no record of any call at all. That was when I realized this was no longer tied to the hospital. It was tied to me every night after that. At exactly 3:17 a.m., something happened. Sometimes the phone rang. Sometimes I heard knocking from inside the walls. Sometimes I woke up standing in the middle of my room, facing the door without remembering how I got there. I stopped sleeping completely, but it did not matter, because whatever this was always found me. Then one night everything changed. There was no sound, no call, no knocking, just silence. And for a moment I thought it was finally over, until I saw faint numbers forming on my wall, slowly becoming clearer. 306. I stepped back in fear as the numbers shifted into 307, and beneath them a dark outline of a door appeared like it had always been there. Hidden in the wall, I could not move, as the shape became real, a handle forming out of nothing. And then I heard the voice again, right behind me, saying, "You opened it once. Now, open it again." I turned, but no one was there. And before I could react, my body began moving on its own, step by step, until I stood in front of the door. It looked old and decayed, like it did not belong in my apartment, but I knew exactly what it was. Room 307. My hand lifted without my control and wrapped around the cold handle. I tried to stop, but I could not. And before I could think, I opened it. Darkness poured out like something alive, swallowing the light and the air around me. And then I heard the voices, louder than ever, all speaking at once inside my head, saying, "You came back." Something grabbed my arm, not hands, not fingers. Something cold and wrong. I looked down and saw faces emerging from the darkness, twisting, watching, smiling, crying, all staring directly at me. And in the middle of them, I saw my own face, staring back, smiling, and then everything went black. When I woke up, I was standing in the hospital hallway. Again, the lights flickering, the air heavy and cold. I slowly turned toward the nurse station panel, and this time, only one light was on room 306, blinking slowly, and beneath it, a new name had been carved deep into the surface. My name, Hassan. And then the call button lit up again. The red light did not just blink. It pulsed like something alive, each glow slower, heavier, like a heartbeat echoing through the empty hallway. I stood there staring at my name, carved beneath. Room 306, unable to move, unable to think, as the call button lit up again, a soft, mechanical click, breaking the silence. I knew I should not answer. I remembered everything. The warnings, the voices, the door that should never have been opened. But my hand still reached for the intercom, like it did not belong to me. My fingers pressed the button, and for a moment, there was nothing, just silence. And then I heard breathing, not through the speaker, but all around me. Slow, uneven breathing, like something standing right behind me. I turned, but the hallway was empty. When I looked back at the panel, the red light stopped blinking and stayed solid. And then the speaker crackled to life, and a voice spoke my voice, but not me. Calm, empty, and distant, saying, "Room 306, needs assistance." I dropped the receiver as my chest tightened, and before I could step back, the lights above me flickered violently, plunging the hallway into darkness for a split second, and when they came back on, the hospital was no longer the same. The walls looked older, darker, like they had been decaying for years. The air smelled damp and heavy, and the silence was gone, replaced by faint whispers coming from every direction. I took a step back, but the floor beneath me felt wrong, soft, like it was not solid anymore. And then I noticed something that made my heart stop. Every door in the hallway now had the same number, 306, repeating endlessly on both sides, stretching into the distance, like there was no escape. I started running, but no matter how far I went, the hallway did not change. The same doors, the same numbers, the same whispering voices growing louder with each step until they began forming words. "You are here now. You are part of it." I covered my ears, but it did nothing. The voices were inside my head, and then suddenly, all the doors around me began to shake, violently, their handles rattling as if something inside each room was trying to get out. I froze as one door directly in front of me slowly creaked open on its own. The darkness inside was deeper than anything I had ever seen, and from within, something began to crawl out. Not walking, not standing, crawling low and unnatural, its limbs bending in ways they should not. As it dragged itself toward me, I tried to move, but my body refused, just like before. And as it came closer, I saw its face, or what was left of it, shifting, changing, like it could not decide what it wanted to be, and then it stopped inches away from me, its head tilting slowly, and in a voice made of many voices layered together, it whispered, "You took his place before I could react." The lights exploded again, and everything went black. When I opened my eyes, I was sitting at the nurse station exactly where I had started. The panel in front of me was normal. No red lights, no carved names, nothing unusual. I gasped for air, trying to understand what had just happened. When footsteps echoed down the hallway, I looked up expecting to see Farah, but it was someone else. A new nurse, young, confused, holding a clipboard. She looked at me and asked if this was her first night shift. I stared at her, unable to speak, as she smiled nervously and said they told me to watch the panel, especially room 306. I felt my chest tighten as I slowly turned toward the panel, and then I saw it. The red light blinking again. Slow, deliberate waiting, and before I could say anything, the nurse picked up the intercom and softly said, "Room 306, do you need assistance?" And from the speaker, a familiar voice whispered, "Help me." And this time, it was not me. It was her.